It's not a Muslim ban, but we were totally prepared. It's working out very nicely. You see it at the airports. You see it all over. It's working out very nicely. And we're going to have a very, very strict ban, and we're going to have extreme vetting, which we should have had in this country for many years.
President Donald Trump's executive order banning entry into the United States by people from 7 majority Muslim countries, sparking protests across the country, wrapped up tumultuous first week of his presidency. Welcome back to Dr. Jeff Engel, director of the Center for Presidential History at SMU. He seems to enjoy the uproar, however.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he said he was going to come in and start, kicking over cans and breaking things, and that's entirely what's happened. It's really hard to find a first week of a presidency that has been more controversy-filled than Donald Trump's.
This has happened before. In defense of this order, World War II, a lot of people are going to say, well, World War II, we did the same thing to the Japanese, and?
Well, we did the same thing to the Japanese, and everybody involved in that case, including the Supreme Court justices who ruled on it, recognized afterwards it was the wrong thing to do. In fact, the 1965 Immigration Act specifically bars any kind of discrimination based upon national origin. So this is something that's really been repudiated by everyone who was ever involved in it.
There's a concern that this is just giving fuel to those who say that America is at war not with terrorism, but with Islam.
Yeah, I think a basic rule of thumb of strategy, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about baseball or whether you're talking about war, is don't do something that the enemy is going to be happy about. Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all of the supported affiliated organizations are thrilled this morning.
But this should not be a surprise. He telegraphed his punch. He promised during the campaign he was going to do this. And if you looked at the first couple of days of the presidency, you knew this was coming eventually.
Well, and this is really part of the problem, is that on the campaign trail, he said he was going to have a full ban against Muslims. In the last 36 hours or so, he said, well, this is not really about Muslims. It's just directed against Muslim-majority countries. But of course, we also have reporting that Rudy Giuliani, one of his Homeland Security informal advisors, was specifically asked by Donald Trump, how do I ban Muslims? So it's really something that's quite extraordinary and quite frankly against the central tenets of the United States.
And yet his supporters will like it. You see the protest, you see the law, you're going to have the lawsuits, but to his supporters, this is the right thing to do.
Well, and his supporters will say that this is Donald Trump trying to keep America safe. But we have to go back and remember facts matter. And the simple fact is there has not been a single refugee or a single visitor from any of these banned countries that has committed a terrorist act since after 9/11. None. Zero. So if we're going to say that we're going to try to keep America safe, let's at least try to find the places where Americans are actually being endangered. This is not one of them.
Lawyers are licking their chops at this, and you say because of the wording of this order.
Yeah, this is actually something that bothers me in a real sense, in a broader sense, more than the actual order itself, is the fact that it was so poorly constructed. Most of the time when you have an executive order, it's sent around to the different agencies, sent around, frankly, reviewed by dozens of lawyers to make sure we get the language exactly right. This executive order, by all accounts, has not been reviewed and was not reviewed by the Homeland Security Department until after it was issued, which means you have language in there which is non-legal, doesn't apply, and frankly opens itself up to a lot of ambiguity and a lot of court charges.
Let's talk about another controversy that came out over the weekend. Steve Bannon, a controversial figure, but very close advisor, the Trump whisperer to a lot of people, especially on national security and foreign policy issues. Steve Bannon will be sitting in on meetings of the National Security Council. Some other people will not be sitting in these meetings.
Right. The Director of National Intelligence and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff have been downgraded somewhat. They are not automatically going to be involved in every meeting. They're only going to be involved in meetings which are pertinent to their areas of expertise. Of course, we're hard-pressed to find what areas of national security wouldn't be pertinent to their expertise. But there's a broader issue here, which is that presidents historically, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, going all the way back, have specifically excluded their domestic political advisors from national security discussions because we want the national security discussions to be about national security, period. Now, of course, we all know presidents get lots of advice.
Sure.
They're going to listen to their domestic advisors in a different conversation in a different room. But historically, George W. Bush did not allow Karl Rove into his national security meetings because he didn't want to give the appearance that he was going to make security decisions based upon domestic politics.
Really, really quickly, because we're just about out of time, the president's popularity rating. He has his base. They love him. He can do no wrong. But
this is astounding. So Donald Trump at this point, his popularity has dropped about 10 points since he took office, but more importantly, his negative rating is now over 50% in his 8th day of being president. It took Barack Obama 500 days to get there. It took George H.W. Bush over 1,000 days to get there. It took Reagan 700 days to get there. This is really an unprecedentedly unpopular president, and during the time of his presidency, that's supposed to be his honeymoon.
And again, to his base, they would be saying, well, good, he's shaking things up, and this is proof.
He's doing exactly what they want him to do.
Okay, thanks very much. We've got more to come. 2 ways